Good morning and welcome to Study IQ. Let's have a positive start. It is easier to go down a hill than up, but the view is from the top. What do you make of this statement? I will leave it on you guys. Don't forget to pass your views in the comment section. Many important articles. You can drop this one. It's a pure political article. Apart from that, we are going to analyze all the articles, right? This one is about SEO. This one is about our crowded cities. This one is changing nature of protest and the way to handle it. This one, Tamil Nadu politics. Basically a case that is going on from or since August 2017, and Madras High Court has given a split verdict. I will take you through it, and this one is about Maldives. We'll start our discussion with this particular editorial. But before that, dear friends, do you know that up to 50% discount is available on our pen drive and tablet courses? This is going to last till 17th June. Make the most out of it. Any question or queries, check out studyiq.com or give us a call on the numbers that you can see on your screen. Now, of course, today is Eid, isn't it? So make sure you have a very you can say blessed Eid, right? And Eid Mubarak to all of you and your family members as well as your friends, and make sure you share some good clicks on your social network. With this, dear friends, if you want to download the PDF, I will share it on my Facebook page and Twitter handle. I'll share yesterday's as well. I was busy with something, so I totally forgot to share it. Sorry about that, but I will definitely share both this today's and yesterday's PDF for you guys. Now, the first article is about islands apart, right? It's about Maldives. Now, where do you find Maldives? Let's first of all locate where our country is. Here you can see this is India, and on the southern tip of India, just a little bit, if we go down south, right, then we find Maldives. This is this country called Maldives. It's an archipelago. That means it is made up of many small, tiny little islands, right? The capital is Malé, that you can see here. And important thing about Maldives, geographically speaking, is you find this equatorial channel passing from here. You find this type of questions in your MCQ. From which country do you find equatorial channel passing through? They can make it a bit more harder as well by say, for example, adding 8-degree channel, 9-degree channel, 10-degree channel, and equatorial, that is 0-degree channel, right, passing from different countries. So when I say 8, 9, 10-degree channel, do let me know where do you find them, right? This is a question for you. This type of questions have been asked in previous UPSC Prelims examination. This one is this can be a good question, and apart from that, it's important for all of us to know where exactly this Maldives is, because Maldives is part of SAARC, isn't it? And it is our neighboring country. Now, if we see recent past, right? When I say recent past, I'm talking about 3-4 years. If we see this 3-4 years, then we find that relationship between India and Maldives were a bit bad, and then at present it is at its worst, because what we find, see, Maldives has started Maldives is basically going to sell one island to Saudi Arabia. Now, Saudi Arabia, we have good relationship, but this also means that Wahhabism, right, this is a sort of you can say extremist philosophy that may penetrate here in this country or Indian Ocean region. The other thing is, if you see Maldives, right, and if you see this ratio of its population and number of people joining ISIS, right, then you find that it is number 1 in this sense. So this sort of radicalization growing in a country that is not far from our country is a big matter of worry for us, of course. Then we find that China is building ports here. So this string of pearls theory. So this sort of things are going on between India and Maldives. And recently we saw that free trade agreement. They have decided to go ahead with a free trade agreement. But now India and China's relationship has changed as well. But anyways, let's come back to this particular editorial. Means, of course, we were talking about it. We were analyzing some important information associated with Maldives and our country. Now, Abdullah Yameen, the person that you can see on your screen, this person is Abdullah Yameen. He is president of current president of Maldives. And we have seen this, as I told you, that relationship. There is a sort of coalition course between Male and New Delhi. Now the thing is, India is not at all happy about. India has criticized the government's decision to jail this person here. Now who is this person? He is former president. His name is Momun Abdul Gayoom. He is jailed for 19 months, and not only him, but Chief Justice Abdullah Saeed as well is jailed for basically both these gentlemen are jailed for alleged involvement for unseating or throwing this Yameen's government. Same thing happens or something similar took place with this person here. He is a former president. His name is Mohammad Nasheed. Now Mohammad Nasheed, when he was in power, he was a bit critical of India at that point of time. But later on he realized that India is the only country that can, means as per Mohammad Nasheed, right? He realized that India is a country that can help in this sort of situation. Now what we find is that he is supporting India's current government. He is also asking for his help. He is in exile. He's going to take part in this election, and India has also criticized this presidential election process, right? India is bit worried about all these things going on in this part of the world. Now let me add some more information to this thing, that this is Male or Maldives is the only country in our neighborhood where Prime Minister Narendra Modi has not visited. He was going to visit here back in March 2015, but this thing was cancelled. And then I remember he visited Sri Lanka, Mauritius and Seychelles. This were the three. Means earlier on it was said that these 4 countries will be visited by Prime Minister, but this Maldives was dropped from the list. Now as we already discussed, we have already discussed about this thing, that China's influence is growing here, and because China has decided to support Maldives, it is building ports here, and it is of course free trade agreement and other things. So because of this thing, Maldives has got a bit of confidence to go against India. Recently they have said that by June 30th, right, that means this month, we have got 15 days to go. Before that, India needs to sort out its helicopters, because it will not get this lease will not be extended. Apart from that, it has also said or this country has also started denying work visa to our people, right? Indian people working in resorts, hospitals and colleges in Maldives. So as you can see, it is at its worst. The relationship between both these countries are at its worst. Now earlier on they used to have this India first policy, but now it's totally changed. It's not that democracy was always there. On paper, on books, yes, you have democracy, but it was near autocracy for a very long period of time. But now we need to be careful about this thing, because see, corruption is also high over here. See, as I already told you, this is an archipelago. That means it has a very limited amount of land. And when you find that it is ready to sell this land to countries like Saudi Arabia, then you find it ready to sell its land or give its atolls or islands for on lease basis to China and other countries, then this is, of course, it indicates that you have limited land, but then as well you are selling it to countries, other countries. So it indicates that things are, as far as politics is concerned, things are not clean, things are not transparent over there. There was a big you can say a documentary basically that highlighted all this corruption that is going on, how Prime Minister and President of Maldives, they are hand in gloves with each other, and means hand in hand with each other, and they are doing massive corruption over there. So let's see, right, we cannot, of course you can understand now, those days are gone. We have talked about this, that you cannot intervene here like military intervention, but you never know what decision India will take because of all this provocative things done by this country Maldives. Moving on to another item, this is about our congested cities. Now look at this figure here. In 1981, we had 5.4 million vehicles in our country. They were registered vehicles. In 2015, we have 210. So can you imagine the big jump from 5.4 to 210? If you just check this picture here, this will give you an overview of Delhi. In just this Delhi NCR, we have 1 crore 5 lakh plus vehicles registered here. So you can imagine, right, we are living in one of the most congested cities in the world. We have all these different modes of transportation, and we find them on our roads. We are particularly talking about our cities, so we are not taking air traffic or waterways here. We are just focusing on land traffic or roadways and railways. When we say railways, we are talking about these metros that we have in our cities. Now the thing is public transport, and this is a very interesting fact about public transport, that public transport uses less road space, right? One thing. Second thing is it consumes less fuel and emits less pollution as far as this per passenger basis or ratio is concerned. Remember this thing. This is the reason why it is much better than using private cars, because when we look at it from per passenger basis, then it is less expensive. It is you can say it consumes less road space and it emits less pollution. Very important point for public transport, particularly buses. Now or trams, or you can say metro rail, right? If the public transport could offer conveniences, commuting choices might just shift. That means even today what we find is that see, there are many people, they are enlightened enough, they are aware enough that rather than using their thirsty SUVs and vehicles, their cars, it is better to go for a train or tram, right, or metro or bus. But the thing is convenience, right? This is a big problem. It is very difficult for many people, right? Not all of them, but you can say majority of people, if they are using their private cars, good cars, you know, air conditioning and everything, and if they have to, if they even think about of choosing a bus or a train, the first thing will be, what about their comfort or comfort of journey, right? Whether they will get a seat or not. What about other problems that they have to wait for the train and all these things, right? So there are many issues associated with it. So basically you can take all of these things under one umbrella of convenience. If convenience is looked after, then there are high chances that people will drop their cars and they will choose this public transport. The other thing is what we find is today our streets are crowded. Today it's very difficult to get a sort of parking for your car, isn't it? So of course you have this push factors. Now we have to work on this pull factors and things will be all right. Nowadays we find this app-based services like Ola and Uber and other countries, other companies, beg your pardon. So we have all this app-based services. They provide flexibility and other things. So rather than taking them or looking at this app-based services as negative thing, we can use them as last mile connectivity thing. Now when we talk about last mile connectivity, we have talked about this thing. You remember I told you that there are countries there are cities and countries where you can get this cycles, right, electronic cycles or normal cycles, and then you can use it, park it, right? These are public cycles. You can use it. They are in good condition. It's not that they are in very worst condition. No, they are in good condition. They have basket and everything, so you can carry your shopping, or you can carry your laptop or other office material and everything, and then you just ride and pick up a bus or a sort of metro, and from there you will get taxi. So we need this integrated transport or commute system. Of course we cannot ignore safe footpaths. If we look after all these things, proper cycle lanes and good connectivity, good comfort in this particularly buses and metros, then there are high chances that we would be able to change the behavior of behavior of our city dwellers. The other thing is we can also have two-wheeler taxi, right? This is something that we can do. We have too many two-wheelers here, and because of this, you know it very well that if you are in a car, then you have to sit down for hours and hours in traffic. But if you have a two-wheeler, then there are high chances that you can find the gaps and reach your destination. So we can have this thing. I think we have got this two-wheeler taxis as well. I think Ola or Uber, they have started this thing. But this is something that can help too, because two-wheelers are less polluting compared to big cars, and they will create less congestion as well. We lose a huge amount of manpower just in traffic, and there are other things like stress. Then this will lead to your non-communicable diseases. These things are not generally taken into consideration, but these things are true as well. This fight or flight mode that we have. When you are in traffic, your flight or fight mode will take over. Your but blood pressure will go, you will think anger and all these things, right? Multiple pressure will be created. So all these things are not healthy for our way of living as well, living standard too. So this thing is not just about economy, it's not just about time saving, it's about health, and it's about, I believe, every aspect of our life. Now moving on, the changing nature of violence. What we are seeing nowadays is that first we find that things are more on means people are protesting. Their initial protest will be peaceful, and then later on we find that they will start, means it will change, or all of a sudden it will change into a sort of violent protest. Now recently we have seen this thing in Thoothukudi, that this industry versus environment protest were going on, and the sad thing is that we saw this police firing, and this has killed a couple of people over here, which is a very sad thing. It is either, you can call it, being very blunt, you can also call it murder by the state. At the same time, we have to, as a citizen, understand that if we are not happy about something, then we have to make sure that our protest is peaceful. If you are engaged, or if we are engaged in a peaceful protest, then there are high chances that government would be able to listen to us. If you can say violent protests are going on, then the only thing that government can do, or the whole energy of government, will be diversified into controlling this violent process. Now, of course, nature is something, or you can say environment is something that every one of us is a stakeholder as far as our near environment, our surrounding is concerned. And when you find that big companies are basically destroying your environment, then it will eventually, directly, indirectly, provoke you to take a stand on this sort of thing. So this is a very, you can say, delicate situation, right? You have to maintain your own interest, then you have to look after your society as well. Then you have on the other side government that has to make sure that violence is not taking place. It has to make sure that the city or the place or the region in which violence is going, it is under control. Maintaining law and order is a very important duty of any state government. At the same time, they can use necessary force, but they have to follow rules and regulation as well. Nowadays in our country, we find this violence is going on because of, or we can see escalating violence resulting from caste conflicts, right? Dalit uprising. Then you have farmers issues, farmers taking the street, coming out in the street. Maharashtra protest was peaceful, other ones are violent. When I say violent, it's not just about you hitting someone else. When you are chucking away milk and vegetables, this is also a sort of violence. Violence is not just only limited to physical thing, it is also limited to emotional, it could be verbal violence. So all these things, right, we have to take into consideration. Then of course a rape of young women and children. We saw this thing in Uttar Pradesh and Kashmir. And then you have this tradition versus modernity. This sort of violence are also going on in our country, isn't it? Some people are saying that doing this and that is wrong, and some people are saying that we can do whatever we like as far as we are not hurting anyone else. So this sort of violence are going on. Then we have this outsider versus insider syndrome, especially in northeast. Recently we saw this Punjab Sikh community and this local people, and then we have this outsiders, right? When I say outsider, I mean to say that people or this handlers who are not living in our country, but they are interested in creating troubles in our country. So this sort of things are going on. Now this article is written by a former bureaucrat and national security advisor, to be precise, and he is saying that those days are gone when we used to rely on traditional methods of controlling violence, just using force or raising these barricades and other things. This sort of things are not going to help us at all. What we need to do now is that we have to find this, we have to make sure that we control this tipping point. Tipping point basically means that things that are going on, right, a protest, say for example, is going on, then it reaches to a certain tipping point from where it will spread like a big virus, so we have to identify this tipping point. Even today the government, the police, right, or you can say judiciary, they are not sure about, or they are not trained for this tipping point. Hardly few people would be aware about this tipping point. Even today most of our administration is carried out in traditional method. Was it yesterday or day before yesterday we were talking about Indian bureaucracy, and I told you about this thing that if you go through the whole Asia, right, then we find that our bureaucracy is the most, you can say, outdated one. So this sort of means challenging or controlling this latest protests with the traditional method is not going to help us at all. Now one more thing that we have to keep in mind is that we have to do research in this thing, intelligence gathering, how to tame this sort of protest. All these things will require new approach. This section 144 and other things are important, but we have to have smart tactics. Moving on to another item, this is about New Asian Constellation, Shanghai Cooperation Group. This is the logo of SCO. It was formed in 2001. I think this is the second time we are talking about the history of this SCO. One of the main reason for the formation of SCO was to calm this Sino-Soviet rivalry. Sino is China, Soviet is Russia, right, during this Cold War era, to make sure that these countries that are bordering or they are sharing borders with each other, they are under control. Now here you can see this is Eurasian portion here. How it starts, let me give you some basic geographical understanding. You see here Ural Mountains, right? These Ural Mountains, they start from this northern part of Kara Sea and all the way to this Caspian Sea. Very important for you to locate this Caspian Sea as well as this Kara Sea, right? There was a question on Aral Sea this time in your prelims examination. So this sort of items, it may look a bit not that important now, but if I ask you after 3 months or 6 months, you may think that you have never heard about this thing, because there is a lack of revision. You have to revise, and the best scientific method of revision is you do it 24 hours, right? Let me give you this formula. It's called 24/7/30. 24 means whatever you read or whatever you have gone through today, you revise it within 24 hours. Then you have to do this same thing. Say for example today is 15th June, right? So whatever you have studied today, you will revise it within 24 hours, and then you will revise it 7 days, within 7 days starting from, or the 7th day from this 15th June. Then within 30 days of this 15th June, that means before 15th July you will revise it, or on 14th July, or maybe 13th, it depends. So if you stick with this formula, if you do revision of any one particular thing for 3 times, then it will stay there in your mind for a very long period of time. Do give it a go and do let me know whether you are benefiting. I'm sure you are going to, because this is a scientifically proven method. So this is Ural Mountain here, and you have a touch of, if you live here or go to this region here, right, this whole region here, you will find a bit of Asia and a bit of Europe here. So this is the reason why you called this portion Eurasian portion. It's not just about geography only, right? When I say bit of Asia and bit of Europe, I'm talking about culture. You'll find mix of both, best of both you'll find here. And of course, in terms of geography, this portion, these Ural Mountains, they separate this Europe from Asia or Russia. So this is here you have two shades here, right? Countries that are always included in Eurasia and countries that are sometimes. So help yourself with it. Now I'm sure you know which part of the world we are talking about. Now recently we saw this two countries, India and Pakistan. Now we are part of this SCO. Earlier on, the main focus of this SCO was security, but now with security we have added a touch of culture as well. And one of the most important thing for India is this Chabahar or International North-South Trade Corridor, INSTC, from where Mumbai will be connected to Moscow. This is the new path. Earlier on we used to follow this blue line, but now from Chabahar you can touch other countries of Central Asia. So it is win-win for every one of us. And it is also said that this entry in SCO of India and Pakistan will create a sort of new bridges between both these arch rivals, India and Pakistan. And there are high chances that our relationship will become more stronger. We will get rid of all these negative things that are going on between both the countries. Moving on to another item, this is about suspense continues. Now this, as I told you, it is about this case that is going on since August 2017. Now if we go back in August 2017, what we find is that DMK, after Jayalalitha passed away, you have this Sasikala faction claiming that she's the one who is in charge of the party. Then we saw this three different you can say factions, right? One was this Palaniswamy, the other one was Paneerselvam, and the third one Sasikala. Now Sasikala was jailed, then came her nephew who is Dinakaran. So some MLAs of this DMK were part of this Dinakaran. They said that they are against this Palaniswamy. I'm giving you a short story or timeline of what took place. So Dinakaran, and then you have basically two factions, Paneerselvam and Palaniswamy became one, and then you have this Sasikala or Dinakaran's faction. So 18 MLAs were disqualified by Speaker. Now Speaker, of course, you know, he or she is person who is a part of this ruling party, isn't it? Once he or she becomes a speaker, then of course they have to act neutral. But you know, behind the curtain, you have a soft corner for your party. So speaker disqualified this 18 MLAs, and the case was filed in this Madras High Court. Now, this judgment of Madras High Court is split. Justice Banerjee has said that the decision was right. Justice Sundar has said that decision was wrong. So now this will be referred to a third judge, because this was a two-judge bench. So now let's wait and watch for this third judge's stand. Some important news on your screen. President rejects Tamil Nadu's plea to release Rajiv case convicts. Senior editor Sujat Bukhari has been gunned down by a gunman in Srinagar. This is something similar to this Gauri Lankesh murder. India calls United Nations report on Kashmir fallacious. India is facing its worst water crisis. Here you can see this picture that you find in today's Hindu. And Korean sanctions on Korea will be there until total denuclearization, and the Federal Reserve has decided to raise rates. So more money will be taken out from this market of our country, and it will go to this USA's market. That's everything, dear friends. These are your answers. These are your questions. Eid Mubarak to all of you. Make sure you check out StudyIQ.com for up to 50% discount. Don't forget to hit the like button and share this lecture with other people. God bless you all. Jai Hind.